And so I think we have to. And it's not a matter of going back to a golden age. It's not a matter of saying let's go back. No, it's not that. It's saying how do we go forward, understanding so many things. First of all, Canadians are all engaged. So many Canadians are engaged in the world today. They're engaged in world affairs. They're engaged. They're keenly interested. Their kids are out working. People are doing things. We're engaged in the world in ways that, is much broader, much more broad-based across the country. Businesses are engaged. NGOs are engaged. Everybody's engaged in this thing. So we got to bring people together, not be afraid of people, not close down government, but open up government. Say, how do we engage with you? And we got to understand that it's not just in our country, but around the world. So our values, we share them, we have them, but we also understand that others don't share them. So how do we engage with them? If we just kind of say, we disagree with you and we're going to bomb you or we're going to get into a fight, it's just ridiculously simplistic. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's where I think we have to continue to come back at the Conservatives. They say, we're being tough on you. Say, no, you're not. You're not being tough. You're being ineffective. You're not doing what you need to do. And that's where I think again we have to regain our confidence, and because we're afraid. They say, oh well, we can't. We're going to be soft on this or soft. You say, it's not a matter of being soft. It's a matter of being smart. And that's really what we have to think our way through. Well, this is a complicated question. I'll try to be brief. It's a very important question. The countries in Latin America and in many other parts of the world are going through many of the same transformations as we have gone through as a country, and many others are. And it's a hard transformation because you're going from economies that are dominated by the government, that are dominated by a large public sector, and where the economy is relatively closed and which trade is relatively controlled, to a much more open model. And I think on balance, there's a certain inevitability to moving towards a more open model. And I think it has the potential to provide for a greater long-term potential economic benefit to people. But I think it comes with great risks, and I think it comes with, it does not come with automatic results or prosperity. And so, when you look at what's happened, I don't regard it as inevitable that governments in these situations will do less, or that they will simply abandon any kind of social infrastructure or social supports, any more than I think it's inevitable that Mr. Harper is doing only what he has to do with respect to our social structures in Canada. I don't think we should ever make the mistake of thinking that because we have a more open trading environment in the world, that this makes social protection necessarily weaker for all and for all time. I think we should not confuse the opening up of economies with the destruction of the social infrastructure. Now, this is a complicated question. I actually wrote a little book about it called The Three Questions, which I commend to you. I'm sure you can find it plentifully in various remaindered bookstores and places. And I hope you'll have a chance to have a look at it. And this is going to be my last question. Sir. Yeah, again, I'm going to surprise people by saying this. I don't think this was a plot that was masterminded by Mr. Harper. I don't believe that. I think Mr. Harper told Canadians and told Parliament that he did not want to reopen the abortion debate, and I take him at his word. But what I think it points out to is that there are large numbers of people in the Conservative Party who don't accept the notion that the debate is closed, and who will never accept the notion that women have a right to choose to have an abortion. They will never accept it. And they're not always public with their views when they campaign, and they're not always open with their views when they campaign. But I think we've seen now that there are over 85 Conservative MPs who feel that way. And I think what Mr. Harper has had to discover is that there are still a very strong group within his party, within his caucus, who hold that opinion. And you know, they won. They got 91 votes, and those of us who believe that we can't turn anything back and that we're going to continue to respect women's right to choose got over 200 votes. So, from a positive perspective, it shows that 2/3 of the members of Parliament of Canada have taken the same position as I think most Canadians, on balance, feel. But, I mean, as much as I would like to credit Mr. Harper with some masterminded control, I actually think life is more complicated than that. I think he's got a very powerful dissident group in his caucus, and every once in a while they want to flex their muscles and show that they're not going to shut up or they're not going to go away. And if you know anything about riding associations, I can't control who becomes the candidate in the riding association. I can't control who will be selected as a candidate. No leader can do that. No one can exercise that degree of control. So, I mean, the good news is that we, you know, the House voted by more than 2/3 in one direction, and that was the view that we arrived at. But if you say to me, is that the end of the matter? I would say, no, it's not. And I would also say to everyone here, don't think that capital punishment has gone away as an issue either. Because the same people who take the view with respect to abortion will often have very strong views with respect to capital punishment. And although there's a certain horrible kind of irony in all that, but it is true. And so I don't say this in a light-minded way. I just say everyone has to understand you can't take these things for granted. You can't assume that because we passed certain laws and done certain things that they're there forever and no one can touch them. Some of the debate that I've heard in the last while, was saying to me, and there are many NDPers who basically said, you can't reopen this debate. Well, it's sort of like the reverse image of the people who think that if you pass a law, you've solved the problem. Fact is, this issue is going to continue to be one that we have to continue to reaffirm why we've reached this practical conclusion as a society over a long period of time, and why we have to constantly reaffirm why we're there. And the same thing is true of capital punishment, because everybody just says, oh, we can take that for granted. No way. Not with the way things are moving so quickly and the way the debate moves. We have to remember the importance of liberal values and why those liberal values remain critically important, and why we have to continue to reaffirm them in everything that we do.
I'm the fundraiser, and I get a reward. Not just the great crowd that came to listen to Bob, but also to thank a number of people. Gavin, Jamie, and Elliot, who are from Ottawa, and make sure that things go smoothly for Bob, and I can attest to the fact that they're very gentle but very thorough. So thank you, guys. And then I'd like to thank you, Bob, and Arlene, for coming to Prince Edward-Hastings. You've given us just another fillip. I would say that it's, to quote you, an encouraging and happy event. And thank you very much. And we have a little gift for you from a glassblower in Wellington. And well, that's why I'm not opening it, because then we won't drop it. But I thought I did make an arrangement with him that if you and Arlene preferred something else, that he's willing to take a trade. And thank you again. Now, our very, very active president would like to say a few words.
I need to tell Bob that in that gift with the thank you note to you and Arlene, there's a to-do list for post-leader time there too, okay? For your job jar, it's there. And in another note, I think you're giving Gavin your cough. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for coming tonight. I think that Arlene and Bob, it's extraordinary that you've been able to pull all of this together. I know what your schedules have been like, and Peter's been very instrumental in working with that schedule as well. So big thank you to everybody who came here tonight. I know the past directors, their public figures in the audience, too numerous to mention. We have people from across the political spectrum, and I think we've had our spines straightened in Prince Edward County.